Hi, hello. Can everybody hear me clearly?
No.
No? I thought I put it on. Yeah, it's on. You hear me now? Now it's getting better, I guess, huh? I can hear me now a little bit better. Okay, if it's too low, my voice is too low, then just let me know. I will try to speak up a little bit. Yeah, welcome to my talk. I'm quite happy, so maybe many people found a way right here. Yeah, welcome to the talk, Developer versus Enterprise. I have, I think, a quite nice picture, and maybe some of you already seen the style at our booth outside. We did a style transfer, and as we have so many cool styles, I couldn't really, I mean, we had 5 or 6 of them, and I couldn't really decide what I should take. So welcome to my talk, Developer versus Enterprise, with the second style. Yeah, why, yeah, just let me talk a little bit about me, myself, as Martin already said. I have a banking background until 5 years ago. I was an advisor in the ultra-high net worth department of an American bank and a Swiss bank afterwards. Yeah, I wasn't really happy there anymore because of enterprise structure and problems I encountered, which I see now in projects in IT with still developers and enterprise. So I really can feel anyone pains he has on both sides. And yeah, I'm managing partner now at Königsweg, and we are based in Mannheim. And I was providing this. Yeah, what we are doing in Königsweg is we think digital excellence, and we do it. Every consultancy claims that for themselves, I guess. We really try to do it, and I think we are quite successful with it. However, why did I do this, or what we're gonna talk today? It's nice to have it with I did it the first time with the mobile phone, which is really cool because no laptop standing here, but sometimes it's a little bit small, so I cannot read it. So lesson learned. Sometimes you only know it by doing it. So what we're going to talk about today, we'll talk a little bit about a usual situation we often see when we help in projects, or when we talk to people who want to promote a project. And after that, we will talk a little about external, internal projects. What is the difference between it, and why are there differences there? And then what is very important, we talk about the stakeholder structure of a project, who is involved, and what are the personal interests about it. Yeah, and then after that, we give some advice how to set it up. How you promote your project, what you should do if you really want to bring up something forward. And afterwards, if the time is still there, we talk about 1 or 2 use cases, what we seen, and then we have a little summary, and then it's time for a little Q&A. So again, I have to, yeah. Okay, what is the usual situation? The usual situation is that the developer is saying, oh yeah, do you see my great lines of codes? I solved this problem with a Long-of-Schwarz algorithm. It took me hours of work. We have one guy here, he's talking about the Long-of-Schwarz algorithm tomorrow. I think it's slightly different. The name, I did it for purpose, and but highly recommended talk. He's coming from finance as well, so for me it's very exciting to see that. And he's talking about options and swaps and whatever. It's really cool. But however, the manager says, "Oh yeah, great. What is it doing? What can we do with it? Can you show me the result, or at least a picture? What can we sell to our client?" This is the interest of the manager or someone who is a little bit on the other side of the project. Then he said, "Yeah, but you know what I try to say is, if we keep on developing my theory, we will have great results and a smooth running system which is very performant and robust." Sounds great for a developer, I would say. But on the other hand, what is the manager say? Wow, that sounds great, because he doesn't understand the word usually. And please send me your script, and I will think about it. So who of you thinks that he will think about it? That's most likely the cases. And this is not because any one of them is stupid or doesn't know what he is doing in his role, but this is not because they're not talking the same language or talking about the same things, or someone didn't put the value in the center of a project or of a talk we see here. So the question is, why external projects and why internal projects? Just give me a little distinction. Internal project is usually, did I already? Yeah. So first, external projects, the customer satisfaction usually is in the center. The cash flow and revenue generation is important, market positioning and new requirements for products. Having internal projects, it's usually innovation, automatization, cost efficiency, bringing things forward. Employer motivation as well can be an internal project. Domain expertise is required, and usually we see it when there's a fast-changing environment, so the enterprise needs to move. And then we see a project. But the truth is that internal projects, they require the same level of attention and dedication as external projects, which usually, if there's a client involved, we give slightly more power to the project. If it's an internal one, we see it by ourselves. If a client is involved, everyone is really 100% or 110% into the project. If we do it for ourselves, maybe it can wait for 1 or 2 weeks and sometimes even 3. However, external projects, they bring cash, and internal projects use cash for the beginning. But however, it's really, it's really important to also really think about internal projects, how the company can be brought forward. And the good news is, you guys, you all can make the difference. Yeah? And just think about it. So now talk about the stakeholder structure of a project. Yeah, we can see it. It's good. In the middle, we see, that's what I'm talking a little bit as well today, stakeholder and politics. This is what we are all afraid of it. I was talking to someone in the morning, and he said, he had a project, and he was told, we do the project without politics. And I said, okay, how long did you do it? 1 or 2 days? And he said, yeah, exactly, maybe half a day. And it's just not possible, because we are all people, and we are all human, and we are like we are. And but the good news is we can manage it, and we can think about it. And so I hope that my talk will help a little bit to understand everyone a little bit better. We have in the center the user and the client. The client will be for external projects, and the user will be for internal projects. This is kind of quite important. Then we have the sponsor. He needs to give the money, so someone needs to pay it. Then we have the project team. Someone needs to do it. It seems that this is very important. We have the project controller. Usually no one understands why he's there. But for some reason, he is there, and he might be important as well. Then we have the shareholders. This is true. The bigger company is, the bigger companies, this is more true. Then they have shareholders and also external shareholders. Then we have the management, and we usually have a project manager. So, I mean, there can be other persons involved, external consultants, whatever, but I was talking about a project that is really within a company. Now we have the user and the client. There it is important that the outcome for the user or the client should be in the center of the project. This is important for him. The client always wants to feel, at least get the feeling that he's in the center. And the same is true for an internal user or a colleague. If you do something for him, you should see him as the center of the project. He might be impatient or impolite, depending on his power or his rank. Just to be sure that this might be the case, and just smile and say, yes, we will do it as quick as possible. Sometimes he is hard to reach for feedback rounds, which might be a problem. And this has something to do with a good project setup up front to solve these problems. He might change his mind very often. This is what we see quite as okay, you can do this, or you did this, can you also do this, or I don't like that too much, and I guess these are usual problems every one of us knows here. And at some point, it's he could maybe be more clear, but this is also the thing. At the beginning, I said the question was, can I see something? And sometimes people only can understand or imagine what things are doing if they see them. This is just the case. This is, I guess, for every one of us the case. Some are a little bit more imaginative and the other a little bit less. But I can say if I saw the first time our picture of a style transfer, I said, wow, that's cool. And before I said, okay, a style transfer. But this was wow. So it's just like this. And the user or client usually wants everything that is possible for the least price and the shortest time. We know about this as well. And just to be aware that it is like this, and then we can manage this. We have the sponsor. Besides the client, the person whom we should be care about also, because he gives the money, especially in internal projects. He gives the budget. He helps with other resources. So he's a very important person because he usually is well connected. He can organize some resources. He can organize some knowledge and everything else. He connects people and he wants the project to succeed because he pays it, which is usually a good thing if someone wants that the project succeeds, because then you have at least his attention. Then there's the project team. Of course, they want to have a homogeneous composition of the team because usually people like to stick to their peer group and not other types of person. I know this community is very diverse, and that's why we really like it, and that's why we really support it. But sometimes if it comes to a bigger company, it's not always the case, and people tend to stick to their peers. We need to know that. Then they want also exciting projects, nothing boring stuff. I think this is for you guys even more important than for other people's. You should have a meaning what you do, and I can totally understand it. They want a high budget and enough resources. I can understand that. It's not always possible, but in the ideal world, if we can wish whatever we want, we should think about it. And they don't want to be bothered with documentation or the boring stuff. They want the shit to get done. And I can also totally understand that. But for some reason, some people, they might need some documentation for other reportings. So just be aware. And usually if you do it, if you start it at the beginning and early enough, then it's not such a pain. Then people might think. Then we have the project manager. I myself, I'm quite often the project manager, so I know what I'm talking about a little bit. He's usually the conductor between all different stakeholders, so he's also a very important person if you want to set up a project and want to choose this guy wisely. He reports to the management and the project team, sometimes to the shareholders as well, depending on the size of the company. The smaller the company is, the more he reports directly to them. You should choose a proper management or leadership style. This is very important as well. This would be a standalone talk. What is the right management style? Is there even a good management style, or just do what needs to get done? You should make sure that the milestones are met, and if not, that it is communicated clear. This is very important. A project manager and everyone involved in the team, to be honest, or the project, to be honest, he should communicate clear. And he wants all other stakeholders to be highly committed. Nothing worse for a project manager if we see that someone is really not interested in a project. So again, this guy is very important. If you really think about promoting a project or starting something new, choose this guy carefully. Then there's the management. It's not always aware of the technical needs we saw at the beginning. And this is clearly because they have a different socialization. They didn't study it. Sometimes you could postulate that they should get a little bit more into detail and not only on the surface. But they want to see that the added value of a project of something you do is put first. And is often, at least for middle management, driven by political issues. One guy is wanting this, and then he heard that this is the next hot topic, and they are all kind of sometimes not really sure what they should do next, because top management changing their mind quite quickly as well, and so they try to position themselves quite well, which is totally normal for someone that is in that position. He usually has not much time because he has not only your project or that one project, but much more different projects. He wants things to get done without questioning how. And he wants solutions and not problems. And this is very important. If you talk to within a project or even before, don't come. And this is what we're telling to our employees as well. If there's an issue, great, we can solve everything. But that's not a thing. But what would you do? I want to know what you would do because I have to decide. And I sometimes don't have time within our company to think about a solution by myself. And usually the management, they trust you don't believe it, but usually they trust you. And so just have a solution there, and then you can say yes or no. And if it's a no, it's not a big issue. Then just think about another one, and at some point he will say yes. Then we have the shareholders, and the following is true. The bigger company, the more likely is the following. The shareholder aims for the highest possible profit. Because they invest money. He is very cash flow driven. He wants the immediate response. He has short sight goals due to reporting regulations. The bigger it is, we have 3-month reporting rule for listed companies. And he does not contribute to the added value of a project. He just doesn't care. He just wants to have cash flow. Again, the bigger, the more true it is. The smaller, usually shareholders are more involved, and they have a much better understanding and much more time than for bigger companies. And then this guy, the controller, we all know him somehow. He's monitoring the time and material. Fair enough. He doesn't show any excitement or understanding usually. Which for people who really put a lot of work and effort in something, it might be very hard. I can understand this. But then again, understand his role. He is therefore setting and monitoring the KPIs and talk about the figures and not about a great line of code. He will hardly contribute and add any value to the project as well, because this is just by definition not his role. Otherwise, he should need to start billing himself, and this is sometimes not compliant as well. So I said it before: the stakeholders and politics. So what I want to tell you with these things: so everyone has a different position within a project, but everyone is needed. So, and this is the very important thing. We need everyone because they are just there. And if we want to succeed a project, we have to get along with every one of them. Doesn't matter on what side you are here. And one key thing about it is to communicate clear and to talk to each other, because usually we find out that the management, they are also human beings as well. And if you talk to them, they are more empathetic than you might think. Everyone has his own agenda. This is clear as well. They usually collide with other personal agendas, and the project goal and the possible output. For me here, output is performance per time unit. Maybe I'm a little bit management driven here as well. But this is what I would say. This is performance. They collide with each other. So furthermore, some stakeholder can be dependent on others. Or are influenced by others, which is usually an issue, where we talk about this later. And one might think that the success of the project does not meet his own agenda. This is an issue as well, because then this person maybe will not really contribute what he should contribute to the project. The result of these things will be that not everyone will trust each other. Information is not shared proactively, which is okay. But it will be much more difficult when information or results that is produced are not. Okay, I have to finish the sentence now. Which is not correct. So they give wrong information, and this is the worst that can happen in a project. This is what unfortunately we see sometimes. What I have put here is the stakeholder interest matrix. I really like it. And we developed it together with a client for a project where we came into, and I said, well, we do it now for 2 years and we're not getting where we should. And we said, yeah, but did you talk to these guys? Who is everyone involved in the project? They didn't even really know it because it was 2 years old and not like people did what they wanted to do but didn't talk to each other. And then we said, okay, we have all our stakeholders here. Again, user, sponsor, project team, project manager, management, shareholder, controller. And then we ranked it how it should be. So it usually, the better is a 10 and the worst is a 0. And we see, for example, that the dedication to the project goal of the user and client is much higher than the one of the shareholder or the management. So I think the 7 is what it should be for the management, and for all of the others, of course, they should be dedicated to the project goal. It's very clear, right? Then there's the question, do they have varying personal interest? Again, a 10 is they don't have varying personal interest. So everyone should have a 10. I'm saying should have. And how can they contribute to the project goal? We're talking about this before. Not everyone can contribute or will contribute, which is okay. The user client, it would be nice if he had a 3. It's more true for the user than the client. And for example, the project team, of course, they do the main part of the work, so they have the highest contribution to the project goal. And then there's the question, how independent are the decisions favoring the project goal? Because this is always an indicator if something's going wrong, if the decisions are not really independently done, because then usually not the best decision is taken into account, so not the worst one, or at least a middle good one. And then again, the user client, he should of course make his independent decision, because he, at least the client, he pays it, and that's what we do it for. Also the sponsor, he should make his independent decision, and the management as well. Here usually is the highest gap between it should or should not. And then the controller, of course, he is told by someone what he should do. So yeah, it's not really that that we expect the 10 there. Now we see what we like. This is maybe average or a little bit below average. This is what we see often in things. The user client 10 out of 10. But then no varying personal interest. The user already sometimes 5. Because they're getting told that they get something, or the one guy gets something, but he don't get it that way he wants, and then there's already a bad mood with them, and then they are not maybe contributing that much as they should be. And the client usually has a 10 out of 10 as well. And then if we think about maybe the management and the independent decision that is possible favoring the project goal, we see here a 3 out of 10. And this is really a big issue, that the people, they want to do the right things, but they're caught in some middle management political games. We were talking a little bit about it before, and this is some point where we really need to get into it and talk about it. And there again, talking helps. So everyone can maybe, everyone can maybe take this matrix and assess projects they are currently inside, and then we have some numbers behind it and some criteria we take. We can talk about these later on besides that. But I think everyone in a project has some kind of gut feeling what it is there, and he can make a number behind these behind the green numbers. There we're gonna see on the right side, we're gonna see examples for personal interests, which is kind of interesting, I think. Again, there it's more true for a user. He had a different idea in the beginning, but was getting other solution. and he doesn't like it. And if someone doesn't like it, he really is not too much into the project. For the sponsor, the sentiment might change with political decisions. The sponsor gives money because he thinks that he has a higher outcome at some point. This is true for anyone who gives money into any project, at least in a corporate world. And if we see that even he succeeds, this is maybe not the right track anymore, or he won't get any proper reward, then his sentiment might change, and this might be an issue as well. The project team might bring no value. They have no conviction. Maybe they see that they have a bad PM, project manager. They have some issues that they don't like each other, some just normal human things. Then there's the project manager. He has maybe the possibility of a different project, so he's not 100% there anymore. He rather wants to have that other project because this is much nicer. The people there are nicer or better. We all know this. The grass is always green on the other side of the river. And then the management, they have no time. They have other problems that are more important than the problem you might bring up to them. They have maybe no general interest because this is not their type of things they want to think about. And there are some maybe fights for power on a C-level basis. So one C-level, he wants to do this and the other wants to do that. And then usually they look who has more power, and they want to put through their ideas and things, and then this might be bad for a project as well. And then the shareholder, they have maybe varying personal interests because they have long-term growth, which is usually a project about, versus a short-term payout they want to have. And we all know if we have to invest, then we cannot pay out any dividend or whatever, and they might not like it. That's maybe why they not really support, and then they usually influence the management. And the controller maybe has some cost-cutting goals, and his bonus is depending on if he can lower the project costs by 10%, and he will try to put this through. So we see everyone has his own position, and everyone has his own goals and agenda, and we really need to streamline these things if we want to succeed a project. Now we talk about setting it up. Before we do that, what we usually use, it's a kind of thing, also part of change management, but we usually think about change before you start to change. And there are 5 success factors for a project I want to share with you. Usually we want to have a vision. We need skills. We need incentives. We need resources, and we need an action plan. And if one of these 5 things are missing, then we have usually a problem. And for example, if the vision is missing of a project, we don't have we have confusion. No one knows what he wants to do, and And we have, if skills are missing, we have anxiety, and if the incentives are missing, we have resistance. People they don't know what they do it for. What do I have from it? We're talking about these interests, and so on and so on. Also, very, very important is if there are not enough resources, you have frustration, and no one wants to be frustrated in his life, and especially if you're 8 or 10 hours in the office. So I have 2 minutes left. So the use case is cancelled for today. We can talk about this maybe further on. But what I want to tell you, the project setup before you pitch it is think about the stakeholders' interest we were talking about, and take them into account. Think about the value, not the technical details, and put it in the center of the project. Communicate. This is, I mentioned it maybe 5 times, but this is so much important. Just talk to the people, and you will get better results if you not talk to them. Plan steps that deliver results fast. Look for quick wins. This helps also if you have small milestones, but you can show something. If possible, have an MVP or a prototype or other understandable visualization of the idea. Everyone will be more overwhelmed if he sees a picture than if he sees a line of code, especially if you cannot read it. And choose your project team wisely. Who wants to take part, who can contribute, and who has the resources. And make sure as many people as possible benefit from the success of the project. This is also look at any single position and think what might be the favor for him if he contributes to the project. And also important, have the right timing. Sometimes we all know it here, artificial intelligence, data science. We hear all the buzzwords, and people that especially management is going on there. But if you hear them, maybe it's the right timing. Sometimes you are 5 years ahead, or sometimes you are 5 years behind. It's always best to be right now here and stay with yourself. So I think we have to have a break. One thing more, the pitch day, be prepared. Just think about the things we're talking about. Remember not to get too technical, put your value first again, and show a good spirit. And I'm quite sure that you have more access now in your projects. So now it's your time. Any questions?